So if you could read any bedtime story, what would it be?
Well, it'd have to be Sean Locke's The Tiger Who Went for a Pint. Fucking amazing. The bedtime story is a time-honoured tradition enjoyed by parents and children the world over. The problem is, not every parent has the time to read their child a bedtime story, which is presumably why the BBC has been handing off that responsibility to numerous celebrities for the past 15 years.
People might not know what you're on about, so would you care to explain?
Yeah, well, to put it simply, there is this thing on the BBC called simply Bedtime Stories, which airs at 7 p.m. every night on a child-centric offshoot of the main BBC channel called CBeebies, on which various celebrities will read a bedtime story for children in the audience at home. And it is made by the BBC as a way of, to help parents to put children to sleep by sharing in a bedtime story with them, which is a really noble fucking goal that I'm not going to make a joke about, because that's adorable as fuck.
That is cute.
It is. And it's really nice that the BBC understands, like, you know what? It's hard having kids. Like, not every parent has a chance to read a bedtime story, but maybe they can just enjoy this, 15-minute segment at the end of the day, because it's literally the last thing the channel airs. Here is a way for you to get your child ready for bed at a scheduled time every evening with just some non-judgmental, easy-to-digest content, which ends with a big, giant celebrity reading you a bedtime story. Because they know that kids will go, are more likely to go to sleep when they're read a story by a powerful, commanding voice, like David Hasselhoff's. And I watched a lot of these videos while researching the original article, and do you know what my favourite part is?
What?
It's that no matter how big the celebrity is, and we'll get to some of the celebrities who appeared on it in a moment, it's that they always introduce themselves by their first name. Like David Hasselhoff comes on and goes, "Hi, I'm David." He doesn't say "I'm David Hasselhoff," he says, "Hi, I'm David."
Hello, I'm David. I love tractors and cars. Don't you?
And I think if David Hasselhoff said that to me in real life, I would lose my mind. I would have a nervous breakdown trying to comprehend a world where David Hasselhoff feels like he needs to introduce who he is to me. So before we move on, Nisha, let's just have a think and a discussion about celebrities that would be the weirdest to hear from. Like, what celebrity has a name that's just so iconic you have to say the first and last one?
The example that comes to mind is Morgan Freeman. Because I can't imagine him saying, "Hi, I'm Morgan." It sounds weird.
It's a lot of celebrities like that. It's like, I think Tom Cruise as well. He said, "Hi, I'm Tom." But which apparently he does do. Like, he calls people up and says, "Hi, it's Tom." Another one for me would be Jackie Chan. So if you said, "Hi, I'm Jackie," it's like, "No, you're Jackie Chan." You can't say Jackie and not add Chan. You're Jackie Chan. And that's why it always pissed me off in Jackie Chan Adventures, which is called Jackie Chan Adventures. They always have the Ask Jackie at the end and say, "Hey, Jackie." It's like, "No, it's Jackie Chan." Or, because we've mentioned Jackie Chan, people are all going to expect to bring up John Wayne.
Yeah.
From the Chris Tucker bit, like, "You John Wayne, John Wayne." Just like, "Hi, I'm John." Such a boring ass name, isn't it? Fuck you, John Wayne. Or Jean-Claude Van Damme. "Hi, I'm Jean-Claude Van Damme." Add it to the end, it's like, "I'm really sorry, you have to say the last name because I'm not going to be able to sleep till I hear you say it."
So David Hasselhoff.
Yeah.
What do the BBC have to do to book celebrities like that to read bedtime stories?
Not that much. So the BBC is known around the world, so they have a lot of sway when it comes to booking talent. And they have had actors as esteemed as Patrick Stewart and musicians as well known as Elton fucking John read bedtime stories. Like, they even once had an astronaut on the show who read his story from space. This is the power the BBC wields, and it uses it to collect, celebrities and great minds and thinkers of the era to read fucking bedtime stories. How did they book this? The man is in space. He's conducting super important research to expand our knowledge of the universe. He's like, "But no, I'm sorry, ground control. I've got to read a fucking bedtime story for some kids."
Well, celebrities like Elton John probably don't come cheap.
They do when they're reading bedtime stories for the BBC, because according to the BBC, they pay every person who appears on bedtime stories the same token amount, with most celebrities donating it to a charity of their choice, and they have minimal, sway over what kind of story they get to read, which I think is baller as fuck. That Elton John agrees to come into the studio. If he asks, "Can I read this book?" They'll go, "No, you got to read the book we want." And I love that. And I think they do have some say.
Yeah.
For example, Elton John, I said, "I don't mind what I read, but I prefer to read a story by a London-based author." And then Tom Hardy wanted to read a story about a dog. Because Tom Hardy's been on the show, folks. And he appeared on the show with his dog under the swaggest blanket known to man.
Hello, I'm Tom. Are you all sitting comfortably ready for tonight's bedtime story?
And read a story about a fucking dog. And this is one of my favourite statistics about the show, because that episode, like the other statistics they have, like, are who watched it.
Yeah.
It was primarily watched by like children under 5 and women over 30.
I was going to say.
The two demographics. And that leads into why they get these big celebrities. Obviously, kids don't know who Tom Hardy is. Kids don't know who like Elton John is, but the parents do. And the BBC knows that if there's a big name celebrity coming on there, it's like Tom Hardy, like, you know, mummy might join the child to watch the bedtime story, maybe with a glass of wine or 3.
Yeah, I think that's something that women find attractive, is when men have like a paternal
Instincts, yeah. Also as well, it's Tom fucking Hardy, like, the beautiful human specimen that is.
Can't not look.
Speaking of like huge bearded beefcakes, they've also had Chris Evans come onto the show
Captain
to read
America.
Captain fucking even Captain America listens to the BBC when it comes to like read this goddamn bedtime story.
Please tell me he comes in the suit.
He did not come in a suit. He came in a really fluffy sweater with sleeves rolled up and said, "Hi, I'm Chris," and he read a story about even superheroes having bad days. And he was like, "Oh no, my heart's melting. Stop it! I'm growing ovaries." Damn it, Captain America.
I imagine all these celebrities have quite a busy schedule, so booking them must be a pain.
It was initially, but bedtime stories has just become its own thing. And according to the BBC and the people who work on the show, while initially they had to go seek out talent to appear on it and say, "Would you like to read a bedtime story?" they've had to stop doing that because they're inundated with so many requests from celebrities to read stories, they can just pick and choose whoever the fuck they want. And even celebrities with insanely busy schedules like Elton fucking John has been known to, like, you know, make an exception for this show when required. And I think there are a couple of celebrities who even said, like, "I don't care what I'm doing. If you want me on the show, I will be there." I think like Tom Hardy's one of them. Like, he said, "I love doing this so much. I will appear on the show any fucking time you want me to because it's so awesome." What I find amazing is that a lot of the celebrities are super nervous when they come on. Even the ones who've been performing, like Elton John, performing on stage in front of hundreds of thousands of people, like for decades at this point, was nervous about reading the story because he wanted to do a good job. And it is known that celebrities will generally make whatever accommodations are necessary to appear on the show, for which, remember, they're all paid a token amount they give to charity. And to my knowledge, there are only a couple of people who the BBC have made accommodations for, one of which was Dolly Parton, who wasn't in the UK, so they filmed her segment from her house or from Dollywood Ranch or something like that. But
Hello, I'm Dolly. Do you love books? Me too. A book can take you on an adventure to 1,000 worlds.
who gives a shit? You got Dolly Parton on the show. Oh, that's so good. And she even comes on and says, "Hi, I'm Dolly." It's like,
Dolly Parton.
"You're Dolly Parton, I know you are." And apparently the BBC is inundated with so many requests to appear on the show to read a story that some actors think they've been snubbed by it. One of whom is an actor called Stephen Graham, who people might not recognise the name of, but will presumably recognise the face of because he's been in a lot of movies. Usually movies that you wouldn't show to young children. And he said in an interview, I think Telegraph or something, "Oh yeah, I've been trying to get on this show for ages so I can read a story so my kids can watch it, and I keep getting turned down. And I think the BBC doesn't like me because I've been in all these like adult roles." And it turns out they didn't give a shit. It's just that so many other actors and celebrities wanted to appear on it, they couldn't, like, you know, accommodate his schedule, because he did eventually appear on the show and read a story about an ogre who learned yoga. And he said it's like one of the best gigs I've ever done. I've wanted to do it for years. He's appearing in crime movies and he wants to read bedtime stories. The ultimate gig. It's like Brian Cox has been on it. The coolest scientist in the world. Like, started out as a keyboardist for Dareem or whatever it was. Became a big dick scientist who apparently Dara O'Brien is obsessed with. Do you know, explain to the people how, like, Dara O'Brien being obsessed with Brian Cox?
I don't know that much about it.
So we watched it at the comedy show we both went to. Dara O'Brien told. I'm glad you remember.
My memory's not that great.
Okay, so people at home, Dara O'Brien, Irish comedian, and he did, and Brian Cox, big dick scientist, like, you know, Astro Man. They had this night watch thing where they were watching the stars, and Dara O'Brien confirms, we saw it happen live, like, yeah, he didn't know how to stand. when he was on live TV as Brian Cox is talking.
Oh, yeah.
So do you want to tell the rest of this one?
They didn't know what to do with his hand.
No, and I'll do the thing. So he went, just stood like this.
Yeah.
And what did people say at home? They sent in complaints, didn't they?
It was something like, oh, he looks too angry or something.
Darrow Breen said, I tried to, look interested about it. I furrowed my brow. Yes.
Yeah, he just looked so angry.
So what he did then is he shifted his body posture to face towards Brian Cox and look more interested.
Didn't they say, oh, he looks obsessed with him?
And you can find the picture, because we said, find a man who looks at you like Dara O'Brien looks at Professor Brian Cox.
Oh my God. Oh yeah, it's all coming back to me now.
He's just staring at him and going,
Uranus and Neptune in one mission. It happens very, very rarely. So off they went, ambitious spacecraft.
Oh yeah.
Also, I'm glad you remembered that evening we spent together. I'm glad you enjoyed it so much that you don't even remember the joke that was told.
No, my mind is like that though. I've only seen that show once. Not a lot of it sticks in my mind.
Arthur.
But the other day I was playing a game with Adam where you have to name all 50 US states.
Oh, that's so tough.
Less than 10 minutes. And I played it that much that I now know all 50 states off the top of my head.
That's the end of the video. According to the BBC, there are plans to continue bedtime stories indefinitely, and their mantra when booking talent is go big or go home. And you're probably thinking right now, Nisha and audience, who is bigger than Elton John? Who is bigger than Patrick Stewart, David Hasselhoff? So do you want to hazard a guess at who the dream casting for one of these bedtime stories is for the people at Bedtime Stories?
Could I get a clue?
They're on money.
On money?
Yes. They wear a crown.
Oh, right, Queen.
The Queen, yeah. They just said in one word, royalty. Which means that in the near future, if someone at the BBC gets their fucking way, we could have a video of the Queen reading a bedtime story for children surrounded by endless corgis. And I fucking want that so much. Okay, so Nisha, you made a fairly bold claim while recording this video that you know all 50... Also, the air conditioning in this room is very patchy. It's right above my head. So it cools me off, as you can probably tell. It's warm with the lights. I'm stuck in this tornado of just death. So, I'm hoping that I've given you enough time to think. How many do you think? You said you can name all 50 in less than 10 minutes. I don't want to let the end of the video 10 minutes long. So, do you just want to go now? And then whoever ends up, editing this video, whether it's you or Brad, to check, and then I'll maybe put a list behind me and tick them off as she goes. That'll be helpful.
Yeah.
So behind me will be a list. So, go.
Washington.
1.
California.
2.
Arizona.
3.
Colorado.
4.
Wyoming.
5.
Montana.
6.
Idaho.
7.
North Dakota.
8.
South Dakota.
9. Well, they're the easy ones.
Kansas.
10.
Iowa. Illinois.
11.
Michigan.
Oh, bloody hell. Go on.
Wisconsin. Indiana.
Okay, 15.
New Mexico.
Okay.
Texas. Louisiana. Alabama. Mississippi.
All right.
Missouri.
Fucking hell, come on, Nisha, go on, lads. You got this.
Georgia. Did I say that already?
We'll find out. It'll be on.
I don't know if I've
The
said
list
that.
is getting ticked off.
Florida. North Carolina. South Carolina.
So that's 25. So you're halfway there.
Virginia. West Virginia. Pennsylvania. Ohio. Hawaii. Alaska. Nevada. Nebraska. Vermont. Maine. New Hampshire. New Jersey. New York. Rhode Island, Maryland. Connecticut.
I think you're 45, 50. You know what? That's more than I think anyone else I know could do. Unless there's any in your head that you've...
I feel like I've missed some.
This is the tensest thing I've ever witnessed. I've never seen so much concentration on someone's face. But holy fucking shit, I was not expecting you to go, oh yeah, I was going to bust out all 50 fucking states almost in 30 seconds. There's no way went other than fucking well done you on your 95% accuracy rate on something I bet most Americans couldn't do.